Okay, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. It is The Huddle. Russ Hill, Jared Jones from Partners in Leadership. And today we want to talk about, for just about 10, 15 minutes, about this idea of how come I'm doing all these things where I feel like I'm listening to my team, and yet so often they don't feel heard. We run into this all the time, Jared.
All the time. There's two elements to this that are really, really important. One thing is you've got to make sure that you're seeking feedback. I mean, if people don't feel like they're heard, one of the main reasons we find they don't feel heard is people that are making decisions aren't asking for their input, and they're not actually doing anything with the input once they've got it. And so the second, and we're going to dig into these in more depth, but the second thing is getting a robust discussion to occur before the decision is made. You know, you don't need to belabor the point either. We're not talking about taking 8 months to do something that should have taken a day. But get the right people in the room and have a discussion. People need to feel heard, and they don't need to be agreed with. People know not everything I say is going to be agreed with, but they need to feel like they were at least heard, that their input was considered at some point in the conversation.
Yeah. So the reason we want to talk about this is, especially in a moment of massive disruption like we're dealing with right now, speed depends a lot on people feeling heard and them being included in the discussion, right?
It's not just about the decision, it's about the execution after the decision.
That's true. And we're going to dig into that in a second. Right now, what I'm getting at is the fact that we can move faster when we're tapping into the ideas and the thoughts and the data that everyone has at their disposal inside our organization. So organizations and leaders that are good at that are skilled in tapping into all of that, can move faster. Their teams are going to move faster. So, and yet over the years, take away this period of disruption that we're in right now, and so many leaders frequently feel like, man, why does whether it's a survey result that comes back or whether it's feedback they receive from somebody, they get frustrated or burnt out by the fact that, man, why am I doing all these things and have an open door policy? I'm very approachable, I'm open-minded, and yet my team doesn't feel like I'm a good listener. How is that even possible?
Yeah, and they feel that way because you don't even have to agree with everything. You just have to act on it in some way, shape, or form. And acting on feedback sometimes means just saying, I heard you, but we're doing it different. You don't have to agree to make people feel like they were heard. You just have to create an experience that I actually listened to what you said, I considered it, and I got it. And so to me, it's a simple shift in a lot of cases. It's not a massive change, but it's a critical shift. You've got to create that experience.
Yeah. So as a leader, when you're trying to create that belief on your team that you are listening and that you are hearing the feedback and you are hearing the ideas of others, the point that Jared made just a few minutes ago, I think is critical. The first step in doing that is making sure that you're regularly seeking feedback. So, hey, Bob, how'd you feel that meeting went? Lisa, I'd love your feedback about, I'm working on this, and how am I showing up with that? And so you're seeking feedback about the way you're leading, how you're running things, how you're doing things. That's one area. The other thing is what Jared talked about, which is discussion. So both of these areas are super critical as kind of step one. Am I including people in the discussion before I'm announcing or making decisions? That's kind of the first step.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that feedback piece, Russ, is most leaders default to, I've got feedback to give people. And they want to go to that. In fact, we had a client, we'd been working with them for a couple of years, a year and a half, and they came in and said, the feedback thing's not working. We said, well, why isn't it working? Well, every time we go to give people feedback, or when we give people feedback, or when we go and give people feedback, we're like, wait a minute, how much are you giving feedback versus asking for feedback? And they were like, oh, we're not asking for feedback very often. We're like, that's the point. I just missed that. It's all about asking for feedback because you've got to demonstrate that you're interested in hearing what people think. And when you show that and create that experience, you get all kinds of information, and you open people up to being willing to hear feedback when you do have it for them.
Yeah. So step one is seeking the feedback and involving people in discussion before you make decisions. Then the second step is what we're talking about now, which is, now that I've received your feedback, What people are looking for, what your team is looking for is, okay, what did you do with it? What have I seen any changes in you or by you or from you based on the things I've been saying? And so let's get real tactical on this of what this looks like. What I've seen work super effective by leaders at organizations, clients that we work with, is when they start a meeting. And it's just as simple as, hey, team, I wanted to, as we kick off today, I wanted to thank Lisa. Lisa showed a lot of courage, came to me, and she gave me some really valuable feedback. And what she told me is that so often in our meetings, I cut all of you off. Like in my effort to move through the agenda quickly, that sometimes I'm asking a question, somebody's speaking, and then I cut you off and move to the next topic. And Lisa, I totally appreciate that feedback. That I know that took courage, and I've been thinking about that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try not to do that. I'm not going to be perfect at it, but team, here's what I need you to do. In our meetings like this, or even if it's in a one-on-one conversation on the phone or anywhere, when you see me doing that, will you call it out to me? Because I'm not going to catch myself doing it all the time, but I'm really working on this because I do want to hear your ideas, and I'm trying to move with urgency, but I want your ideas. When the leader says something like that, what is Lisa thinking?
Oh, I can do this. They want it.
Yeah. Lisa's thinking, oh, Russ, listen, he actually processed that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how he would respond to that feedback. I was kind of nervous after I said that to him, and he's really thinking about it. What's the rest of the team thinking? They're thinking, Lisa's still alive.
Yeah. And it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
Something, and he's doing. Yeah. The other thing that's important about that is making it fun. Sometimes a keyword that's like, tiger when they do it, so that everyone laughs and goes, oh, he's doing it again, right? You just have some fun with that.
Make like a code word, Jared's what you're talking about.
Like a code word
joke.
Yeah. And that makes everyone feel like it's more fun and light, because sometimes that can be kind of an awkward thing. What are you going to do in the meeting? Say, excuse me, boss, but you're doing it again. And it's, that doesn't actually work very well. But if you can make it fun and light, that works. Another simple example of this, Russ, was we had a leader we were working with who said, I got feedback that I wasn't being responsive to people. And he goes, I'm in meetings all the time. I can't just answer everyone's phone call every time it comes in, because it would be totally rude to the people I'm in the meeting with in that moment. So what do I do? We said, look, just respond to people with a quick text. Have a text set up in your automatic text that says, I'm in a meeting, I'll get back to you later. Done. And just be vigilant at making that response whenever someone calls you or reaches out to you. So he did. Within like 2-3 weeks, his team's like, man, he's totally shifted. He's listened to our feedback. He's being totally responsive. All he did was respond with that little text saying, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you back later. And it made all the difference. So it doesn't take massive changes in communicating or creating the experience for people that you're listening to them. You just have to do something to demonstrate that you heard them and you're willing to engage with them.
Yeah. Another thing that I'd add to the discussion here in helping your team feel heard is, so part of this is around seeking feedback. We've talked about that. Another aspect of this that we've been touching on is seeking discussion or building in time for discussion before you make decisions. So many leaders, they might do that. A lot of them don't. But if they do allow time for discussion before a decision, and they checked in with multiple people or multiple teams before they announce a decision, they don't tell people that.
Yeah.
So in other words, they announce the decision or the policy change or the new procedure, and yet they don't say, so here's the new change or here's the change. And let me give you a little bit of information about who we talked to. We talked to the sales department, went out and chatted with a few reps about this. We checked in with finance. We heard their perspective. We did, it can be 2 or 3 sentences, you all, in an email.
Get credit. Get credit for all the work you did.
Well, and here's why it's so important, Jared, is because when I hear you say that, then I think, oh, they checked in with my department.
Right.
Or they actually asked questions. Maybe they didn't ask me, but they talked to somebody else in my same position.
And my thinking was most likely represented.
That's right. And so it influenced the decision. And so I'm more likely to own or to take accountability for that decision, get aligned to it if I know you went through that process. And the other thing it does is it causes everyone to think, Oh, they're listening. So they didn't just make that decision in a vacuum, because that's one of the biggest complaints we all have about leaders, right? They're making decisions, but who are they listening to?
Right.
Who
Do
are
they
they
have the right
checking with?
information? Yeah. Do they have the right information? Are they even clear that this is what we're here seeing and experiencing on a regular basis over here in our department? And so the key to that, I think, I just want to put a little emphasis on what you said there, Russ. If you want people to execute on these ideas, they have to feel ownership for those ideas. One of the major ways you create that ownership is getting their involvement in some way, shape, or form. So just tapping in and letting them know that they were heard, that their perspectives were considered, that we wanted the information that you have at your disposal before making the decision. It's not that you have to have, some ridiculous process where everyone gets a voice at every decision at every moment. That's not
a ton of
reality.
time, right?
Yeah, that's not reality. But think further down that road than most do. How do we do enough to show that we were considering all the perspectives? Then we made a decision, and describe, as Russ said, describe the process you used so that people go, oh, that was actually pretty thorough and they considered a lot of things before moving on this.
So just a couple of tips, a few thoughts, insights today based on our experience, where we hear this come so often with our clients around, man, why does my team, why do members of this organization not feel heard when I'm totally approachable, I'm open-minded, and I'm asking questions? There's a reason for it. Hopefully you've gotten some value out of our discussion with you today. So we've appreciated having all of you live on with us. Jerry Jones.
I can't even comment on all of you.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So for more, check out our website, partnersandleadership.com. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, guys.